We watched Wednesday's podcast live, which you can watch on facebook.com/secrets of the sire or youtube.com/secrets of the sire. We touched upon it a little bit. This is going to be our spoiler-filled review. This is our full review. Just in general, very divisive movie, at least among fans. It had a lot of hype to it coming in. This is M. Night Shyamalan's return to this universe. And Hassan, what did you think of the movie?
Strangely enough, I enjoyed it in spite of what everybody's been saying. Although I do see what everyone's been saying about it. I do completely understand why it's a divisive movie. So, I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you can definitely see why it's divisive. For me, it was very uneven. It was an uneven film.
Yeah.
It was a film that took a while to kind of get going. After starting out actually pretty cool. The whole thing that M. Night is kind of doing, though, with this whole series, with this whole trilogy, is kind of trying to break that, Marvel tradition. I mean, he even gives that little wink and a nod to the tower that's a Marvel, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think in general, with anything M. Night does, though, and I think this is something that, you and I kind of talked about a little bit on Wednesday when we did our podcast a little off air, but when you don't see M. Night coming, he's great. When he has the expectations of knowing he's got something to prove or something to do because people are actually expecting something great out of it, because this movie was very hyped up. I mean, coming in San Diego Comic-Con, this was one of the trailers that really people were like, "Oh, I can't wait to see this." I think he doesn't handle that kind of pressure well, and I think this was an uneven movie, right? I think the ending, I was fine with the idea of the ending. I'm actually glad, and we'll get into the twists and turns. I was actually happy with the one twist with Sarah Paulson's character, because the entire time I thought, what a lousy conceit to get all these three characters together. Like who's like, I've only got 3 days to convince him. No, you don't. Bruce Willis literally should be in a holding cell in a jail somewhere. He shouldn't be in a psych ward after getting arrested. First of all, he also saved those cheerleaders, so there is no logical explanation for why the three of them are here, except M. Night is like, let's get all three of them in a psych ward together. And then at least, okay, you get revealed that she's got these connections. She's part of this, spoilers, she's part of this like secret society that is there to repress the nature of superheroes and superhumans in the world. And it's like, okay, all right, at least that explains that, because the whole time I'm sitting there going like, why? I don't understand this conceit.
Yeah. I didn't look too deep into it. I get what you're saying, but I understood. It seemed like the details are there. There was enough details there for me to accept the conceit that they were all together. Like, there was enough information given to me. I mean, they did catch Bruce Willis and James McAvoy fighting, and James McAvoy switched personalities quick enough for everybody, for the cops to be confused enough that cops just basically they will just arrest everybody. They do. I mean, and so.
Yeah, I wasn't upset that they got arrested, but I'm just sitting there saying, like, how do they get moved to a psych ward within 24 hours?
Well, they would if they thought that the person was unruly or uncontrolled, they would put him in a controlled environment, which is a psych ward, for evaluation before his indictment, and before. So, I mean, it didn't seem that far fetched to me.
Okay.
Personally, like the series of circumstances that got them there didn't seem that far fetched. There was, I think the thing that he took the most liberty with, in my opinion, was Mr. Glass. Since you call the movie Mr. Glass,
yeah,
and it's basically supposed to be, Sam Jackson's movie, as
right.
Unbreakable was Bruce Willis's movie, or David's movie, and Split obviously was McAvoy's movie. It to have him so sparsely in it kind of seemed like he was robbing the movie of its most important component.
Sure.
And so, when he finally came out of his, fog and he started manipulating the pieces on the chessboard, I was like, all right, at least the movie's moving now. But it did take a while to get there.
Yeah. No, it absolutely did. And again, if you caught the podcast the other night, you know that my movie was interrupted by the fire alarm when they're finally battling.
Well,
front.
The problem is you ruined the surprise because by talking about that Paulson wasn't who she said she was.
Oh, you should have seen the movie by then. Look, I'm just saying you should have seen the movie at that point. We knew we had a podcast.
Yes, I shouldn't have had a 105 fever. I understand.
I know.
I get your point.
Look, if my wife can have our daughter right before New York Comic Con and on like a Monday, what was it, like a Thursday?
It's funny,
after, then you can command your body. You can command your body to
suffering the pregnant condition, though.
No.
And your wife actually wasn't at Comic-Con, so
no.
That doesn't quite work.
All right. Well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. So here's the thing too. So the Sarah Paulson, there was 3 twists in this film, right? There was 3 the twists that you know. One was the Sarah Paulson character. The other was, again, Samuel Jackson, which you kind of alluded to. That he had it planned the entire time. I guess there was only. Oh no! And then the third twist was that Bruce Willis, that train Mr. Glass actually created. See, I like that twist, and I like the Beast going forward and actually being the one to take out Mr. Glass. You get the feeling that M. Night just loves. It's either M. Night loves or James McAvoy or both just loves writing and acting as Split. Like Split is like an actor's dream. To be kind of like doing like multiple characters in one sitting and to be very like all over the place. I almost felt like it's funny you mentioned that because Glass is very dormant for half the film. I felt like it was Split 2. It really was, to me, Split 2. I feel like Bruce Willis got very limited play in this film as well too. And I thought his death was very unnecessary, especially since his son is literally standing like right over there. Like his son couldn't run out there and save him or do something. I mean, again, I'm not as upset with the fact that they all died at the end. I'm just upset that it was just handled. I think the whole movie was just so choppy and uneven. Whereas, M. Night with Split, you didn't know what you were watching, and he knew that. And so he kind of almost has this freedom where he doesn't have to do anything to surprise you because he knows the surprise is coming. He just has to focus on making a really good movie, and he does. Unbreakable, same thing, and that's when he was at his start. This movie, I feel like the weight of, hey, I'm back. I've made it back, and hey, I've got this, and everyone's excited about this. I think he overthinks the whole premise, or doesn't think enough, and just tries to go right to the meat of it all, and I don't think it works.
Well, how would it have worked?
Well, what do you mean? How would it have worked? I think,
how would you have done the story to the point where it would have been satisfactory to you?
So let's say I actually kind of dig the fact they never made it to the Marvel Tower. Like I kind of dig that. I mean, like I said, there's things that he's got the elements there. I think there's a pacing issue. I think he spends too long, on Split. I think he spends too. As much fun as a Split character is, it's like I already saw Split. If you're going to devoid us of Bruce Willis in this, like Bruce Willis literally, he's been doing this for 20 years, and she's like, do you really think you're a superhero? And he's like, wait a minute. Oh, my God. You blew my mind by just asking me this question. It's like, okay, you didn't really convince him because then literally, like, I don't know, 2 seconds later, Glass is like, you can do this. And he's like, oh, yeah, I can do this. It's execution of a good, what could be a good setup. I mean, look, when everyone saw the trailer and they're in the psych ward, they're like, this is a good setup. This is a really cool setup. Not having it take place within the span of 3 days, I think, is actually something of value. I mean, I think that alone would have given it a little bit more time. Like, hey, they haven't been in here for 3 days. They've been in here for 6 months. But again, that goes against his secret society spoiler, his secret society like twist. But if you because when you see the trailer, you see them in the psych ward, you're like, oh snap, they've been there for a while. Like, what if Bruce Willis was captured a while? What if Glass was captured a while ago and they've been in here now? I mean, it looks like Glass was captured a while ago. So if you're worried about Glass, if you're worried about the secret of superheroes being out there, then why has Glass been in there for so long? You know what I mean? It's not like he just got captured. So there's things that he could have done where you could have actually really dove into the psyche of these guys versus, I've got to do this in 3 days. And it's like, do you? Because that's not how justice works. It's not how our justice system works. It's not how anything works. I almost think if you just lose the secret society angle with Sarah Paulson, the whole movie could work better.
But how? Because the ending wouldn't have been a revelation at that point.
Again, the revelation that Glass actually killed, the Beast's father and created the Beast is a great revelation. That's still there. That
was a little less a revelation as was a revelation that he actually took into account of the secret society. He took that into account. He knew the secret society. He knew that they weren't going to get to the tower. He knew that wasn't, that wasn't the actual venue. He manipulated things so that he escaped through the tunnel, so that he would alert them in time, so that they could be confronted in the in the open parking lot, which is where the whole thing would have been filmed. So I mean that revelation.
But here's the thing: could you still have a secret society and it not be a 3-day window where we have to kill you guys, or else it's going to be bad? I mean.
I guess I just don't understand the hang up of the 3-day window. That's all.
Well, because
I don't get that.
What it did for me was it set up it anything that pulls me out of the story and makes me go, that doesn't make sense. Like, why wouldn't they just? And again, Bruce Willis saves those cheerleaders, so why would he be in there? Period. Yes, he'd be fighting, but literally,
because he's a vigilante.
I get he's a vigilante, but you don't think that there'd be social media outcry? There wouldn't be like these 4 teenagers being like, "Wow, I'm really glad this guy saved me. They should release him." Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it wouldn't matter. I'm pretty sure that they were looking for him before they even caught him. So it's not like the cops just showed up at this particular designated time.
Yeah.
Saw these 2 guys fighting, decided to arrest everybody, and then there was an outcry for the one guy. But, this guy had committed a number of crimes prior to him being arrested. So when they finally found Bruce Willis, they were like, okay, we got him and we got this other guy. We're going to arrest all of them and have them evaluated. Because, they made sure to set up the fact that his son told him, you got to be careful because they're looking for you.
Yeah, I know.
Because Bruce Willis breaks into people's homes, turns out the lights, and beats the crap out of them. Which is a crime.
Again,
he's doing it for all the right reasons.
100% agreed. But as a vigilante, you'd commit him to a psych ward? No. As a vigilante, you'd be in a holding cell. Again, I'm just saying these are just things like you would to have them all in there, and then to have this like conceit that we have a ticking clock. To me it was one of those like, okay, the writer wants all 3 of them in here and he wants a ticking clock. I think it would have been.
I'll agree with you about the timing, but like I said, the circumstances aren't so far fetched that it knocked me out of the story. I agree the pacing was stretching it, but then again, I don't know. Would it have worked if there was more proselytizing of psychobabble as she
No. A simple solution though is that you just you don't have to show the court cases and the psychobabble and all this other stuff. Put him 6 months down the line. Put him like or a year down the line, because obviously the way the real court system does, and they're all in the psych ward together at that point.
Why?
Because so here's the thing. I mean, you you can have a real browbeaten Bruce Willis at that point, who truly he's on medication. He's truly not sure of himself. You know, again, it's all these hits, right, throughout the film. Like, I mean, the guy's been doing it for 25 years. Sarah Paulson's not gonna unconvince him of that in one sentence. No. But she did. Yeah, she did. She did. It took Glass. No, it took Glass being like the water's turned off. You're okay now.
I think the point was he was malleable. So if that's what you're talking about, because she almost had him convinced, but then again, she asked if did I have you convinced? Because remember when he was being killed, she asked him and he couldn't answer because his face was in a puddle of water. So you don't actually know if he was convinced or not.
Yeah,
he doubted, and I think he's wanted it to stop for quite a while.
Yeah.
And he just had all this positive reinforcement from his son, you know, and his success rate. So someone says, you might not be a superhero, you know, what you're doing is wrong, you know, breaking into people's houses and beating the crap out of them because you think that they've done wrong is wrong. And going around and touching people and thinking that you can see, you know, into their psyche is a little crazy. If that's what you think happens, that needs to be looked at.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think if it took him like 30 minutes to decide to break out of that cell, then it would have been over laboring the point.
But that's my point. But you don't need to. You don't need to have him.
But it didn't take him that long to decide to break out of the cell. It didn't take a lot of convincing for him to get back into form. So just as it didn't take him a lot of convincing to doubt, it didn't take him a lot of convincing to recover his animus and go back out there and actually do something.
No, I agree. So, I guess at the end of the day, those things are not as blatant if the movie as a whole works in terms of the pacing. If it's like, at the end of the day, you sit there and go, okay, I can live with this, versus something just didn't feel right, something felt uneven, something felt inconsistent, you start going back and here's why. And I think for me, again, that's the way I felt about that. What did we think about the supporting cast in this? I thought the girl was kind of weird in it too, to be who were damaged too. It's like, dude, you killed friends of mine, and I mean, I guess it's Helsinki syndrome.
He didn't.
Right, I know. It was the beast that killed him, but I mean, maybe it's Helsinki syndrome. You know, maybe that. I don't know. I was a little like, you know, turned off. I mean, overall, like I said, if you had to give it a grade, what's your grade on this film?
Oh, what's the scale?
You know, like school grades: A, B, C, D, E. E is for excellence. You know, E gets let off the hook very easily, right? Like, why is F like the worst thing? Like, does F just is it?
In my entire life, I've never gotten an E.
I did. Like in kindergarten, I used to get E's. You used to get A's or E's, A or E for excellent. Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I live the charm life.
No comment. Let's see. I would say it's a B+.
I'm gonna go B- on this. I'm gonna ultimately go B- on this film. Any chance? I mean, all the characters are dead. This is a superhero trope film. This is a superhero movie. The positives to this is I love that he keeps the realism throughout. I think that I loved the concept of Unbreakable because it was like, wow, you're watching a comic book movie, but you're watching it as if it really could happen. You know, a lot of times, you know, even in like the Marvel Netflix universe, you're like, this is what it would really be like if superheroes existed, and it's like it is up until the point where you introduce the superheroes, and then you can't help but have them like lift a car or do something that's like, you know, and then they get quippy about it when they do. They're like, I'm gonna lift this car because I'm so, you know, like, you know, hate to shift gears on you. You know what I mean? Like they always end up doing something that's like, no, in real life, if you could lift a car, I don't think you'd be cracking jokes as you did it. In this movie, I feel like it plays very realistic, and I think it's as realistic as it can be. I love the fact that he doesn't bring him to the tower at the end. I really do love that. I think there was that wink and a nod to the Marvel Universe. I think that's where some of the meta stuff that he does, works. I didn't need Glass to be, giving us this narration of because he does that in Unbreakable. You know what I mean? It's like he repeats.
Yeah, it's a return to form, though. It's a return to the format.
I agree.
Comic books have a particular format.
I agree.
The voiceover is a classic comic book trope, and so it was reinstalling the comic book trope. Do you
ever see some stuff like I'll use the Will Smith in Men in Black, like the scene where he puts the sunglasses on, and he's like, "I make this look good," and it's like, and then you see it in the film, and you're like, that worked so great as a film. I feel like Glass's narration throughout it, up until the very end, obviously, didn't work. The last twist we didn't talk about too, which you liked, the viral video kind of stuff. I like the concept of that. I think it's the Watchmen concept. Rorschach's journal, ends up in the newsroom. So you're kind of like, oh, what's gonna happen, that kind of thing. But I was actually reading about this, and one guy made a point, and they're like, viral videos go viral all the time. Like, I feel like Sarah Paulson's reaction is almost like, Yeah,
I would have said that everybody's just going to come up with their own logic to it anyway.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not that much of a revelation.
Yeah.
But yes, again, this is what I don't get about, like, this is the thing I can't stand about people in general. Like, some criticisms about some things, criticisms are never consistent. If you watch a movie or you see something and it didn't hit you the right way in a particular way, regardless of what that movie did, it's going to be wrong. And that's what kind of drives me crazy about modern criticism. Like, it's not like you take it to, like, okay, the tenets of storytelling are there. The who, what, where, why, and when are achieved successfully. Mm-hmm. I understood the goals of each and every character. I understood the restrictions, the rules of the world. Everybody acts consistent within the rules that were given in the world that they were living in.
Right.
So now it's just about execution. As pertains to execution, I think it could have been executed the pace could have been better. It could have been executed a little faster. But all these other little things, when a chord has not been struck in certain people,
sure,
now they suddenly start to nitpick all these little things that honestly are not a big deal. They're inconsistent, because another movie, say like Logan, you let it go. You let certain things go. There's a lot of like, well, how come? Wait a minute. So he takes his medication and then he's able to run all the way up this hill, and they try to make that a huge return to form showcase. And then as soon as he gets to the top of the hill, when he has to face his worst opponent, he's out of steam again. So he's been running on empty this entire movie and killing like dozens of bad guys the entire movie, and actually fought through Charles Xavier's mind fog the entire movie. And then he jams himself with this medication so he could get back to,
sure,
like the Wolverine level, when he was in Japan, he could get back to that kind of form. And he goes charging up the mountain, and by the time he gets to the top of the mountain, he's all worn out again, and he's weak again. And you're like, well, okay, the return to form kind of thing has been compromised. What should have happened was that the jamming of the medication should have been what killed him, not the villain. Not the clone Logan and the Reavers who are at the top of the, who inflict enough damage that it kills him. The fact that he made the decision to dose himself with the medication so that he could get to the top of the mountain to save the kids, that should have been what killed him.
Yeah.
Because that maintains his agency. That he could have been fine if he stayed in his cabin, but he decided to burn himself out, running to the top of the hill. but they wanted to dose you with another piece of drama.
Yeah.
So that by the time he got to the top of the hill, he's worn out again. So obviously, it's he's in jeopardy. But we already knew that, so it was overstating it. So like that's the kind of stuff that bothers me. It's like, well, that's a misuse of the trope. That's a misuse of the form that we're supposed to be in. And that doesn't bother anybody else because everybody's like, oh, this is so awesome. Like, it's so gritty. It's so real. It's so dramatized. It's the same with this. It's like, well, okay, you know what? All the format is correct. There is a pacing issue. We'll agree with that. But the formatting is correct. The logic that we use to get to here has been utilized. There has been no breaking of the rules of the world that has been established. So the fact that the cops threw him in jail, and I mean, like, the same with Unbreakable. How did he plan for a derailment? How did Glass arrange a derailment? Just that that McAvoy that his father was going to be on the train. Like, nobody asked those questions because nobody really cares about that.
Well, I didn't look at the James McAvoy's father being killed as. I feel like that's almost a happy accident kind of thing. I mean, the derailment.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying, well, okay, but this is what I'm saying. But you don't mind for those happy accidents.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So there's a
But you're looking at it. Look, you're looking at it from an academic point of view, which I agree with.
It's not really. It's not academic. There is a level of academia applied, but I'm talking about story head beats. The story made sense to me. So I liked it,
Yeah.
You didn't. There are certain aspects of the story that didn't hit home to you. So now everything that's wrong with it is wrong with it. So it's like and you said it yourself. If certain beats had been hit, I would have forgiven all those other things.
Yeah, that's more to do. Also, it's not just story. It's not just look. I mean, the Sarah Paulson thing definitely took me out of it, but I was brought back into it when Glass wakes up and starts actually doing his thing, and I'm like, all right, this is kind of cool. I'm getting into it. All right, I can get into it. But overall, the impact of the film, and you said it yourself. I mean, this is head versus heart. I mean, when you're actually watching something, you're either into it or you're not, or it's hitting or it's not. And then when it's not, you got to go back and say, you know what? In this case, even though,
no, you don't.
It's exactly
not necessarily.
Well, for the purposes for the purposes of this, when you sit there and go, what did you think of it? And I go, it was okay. And you go, why? This is why. All right, what did you guys think? Hit us up in the comment box below. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, please. We would like to continue growing. Our Facebook channel is awesome, facebook.com/Secrets of the Sire. Please like us over there. Check out videos over there. youtube.com/Secrets of the Sire, which if you're viewing us on YouTube, you're here already. Please subscribe. Please comment. We will be back and forth reading your comments and responding to them as they happen. We're very good about doing that. Wednesday, January 30th, we will be doing our Punisher Season 2 review. We've got Marvel's Darren Sanchez in studio. He's also bringing a fellow podcaster into the studio as well, too. So it'll be the four of us. And we'll be breaking that down. We're going to break down further. We're going to do a little Black Panther versus Spider-Verse. Which one's the better film and which one should and will come away with the Oscar? So, thank you, guys.